Hello everybody, welcome to another Comic Source Comic Boom collaboration. Time for the Indie Spotlight for the week of November 6th, 2024. Kind of a little bit of a smaller independent week this week. There's still some really great titles, but not as many this week as we've had in the past. So going to kick it off with Skin Police. As you can see, if you're following us on YouTube, written by Jordan Thomas, art is by Daniel Gete, colors by Jason Rocky, letters and logo designed by Jeff Powell. Covered the first issue a couple of weeks ago. It's this world, this future scientific world where clones are viable, but they are outlawed. And the reason for this is because one out of every clones does what they call pop, where they become like psychopathic. They go on these killing rampages. They have hallucinations. They're quite powerful, actually, when you think about it. So there is this DIC, this group, which is the Duplicate Identification and Capture Division. So they're known, as the DIC by that acronym, but everybody calls them the Skin Police, and they're the ones that go out and try to find these clones, hunt them down, and I guess incarcerate them. A lot of times they end up being killed. So the first issue, we were introduced to this concept. We were introduced to sort of this legendary police officer who is the one who goes after these skin police, and he's training a new rookie. But there's also a rebellion, and that's what's being introduced. This idea of kind of a clone rebellion, if you will, almost sounds like Star Wars. In this issue, and what's interesting is this one duplicate, Lacey. We saw her in the first issue escape. She ran away across the city and was able to evade capture by the Skin Police. So she's sort of recruited because she does have some medical skills. Because the rebellion has a way to keep the duplicates from degenerating, if you will. They still have the initial pop, but once they have the initial pop, excuse me, they give them this medication that then kind of regulates them. So they have to have that initial pop, but once they do, then they're sort of stable, if you will. So that's why they recruit her. They want her to help them out. So what they do is they recruit her, and they put her in this like padded cell. They say, sorry, this is the hard part. You won't remember much. And it's interesting because before they pop, they're crying, but it's like these black tears, which is how you know it's about to happen. Their eyes turn black or what have you. Meanwhile, there are some other duplicates that are trying to escape the city to get out to where they can be safe, and they're transporting them in this like beat truck, if you will. But what they don't realize is that the Skin Police are onto them, and but they sort of know that. Not the people that are being transported, because a couple of them are about to pop as well, but the people transporting them, and they set up this ambush for this legendary Skin Police Lieutenant Ekis is his name. And so just as they're about to exit the city, the Skin Police stop them. There's a firefight. But again, surrounding this area, they have snipers and people with weapons, and they're trying to take Ekis out. Unfortunately, he's able to get away from the ambush. Meanwhile, one of the duplicates that popped inside the van got loose, and he killed everybody else that was in there. You can see it here. He's like, is that you, Lord Mutilation? I've prepared you so many gifts. Everybody else is dead. And so Ekis shoots him as well while one of the other officers throws up. That's the world that we're living in here. So it's very graphic. It's very violent, but it's pretty interesting, going along with a lot of themes that are seem to be pretty prevalent in comics right now. Have-nots, oppressed, fascism, that sort of thing. But it ends with Lucy, that duplicate that I was talking about, who has survived her popping, if you will, because she was in this padded cell. Her arms were handcuffed behind her. There was nobody that she could have harmed She says, Lucy, it's fine. You've popped. You've come out on the other side. Take these and join our fight against the skin police. And he's given her a couple of those pills, which again are the reasons she was recruited. They have a scientist that's developed this, but he needs help because the duplicate population has been growing in the underground. So it's a really interesting story from Jordan Thomas. The art by Daniel Gete is really interesting. This Lieutenant Ekis, what his motivations are, we haven't learned a lot. Like, he appears to be, a very by the book protagonist and the good guy or what have you. But it's almost like the way the book is written, the narration skews to where you're almost rooting for the duplicates. Because, this isn't their fault. Some of them are not even aware they're clones. So it's not their fault at all. Some genetic quirk that makes them go crazy and hallucinate and what have you, become ultraviolet, and then they're killed or they're imprisoned for that when they have no control. They have no control over it. Imagine finding out that you're a clone. You have no control over that. Like, what are you supposed to do? Kill yourself because you could harm people, theoretically harm your own family. So it's not a good place to be. It almost seems like the rebels have the better idea. If they're going to pop, then put them someplace safe so they can't hurt anybody when that happens. And then if there's some way to medicate them to keep that from happening in the future, why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you want to do that so that they could be, productive members of society? So.
Especially in a world where there's the low fertility rate, and they need people. It's playing on real world fears about depopulation over the next 100 years on our planet, and we already have lower fertility rates, and that's why I like it. It's very intriguing. And just when we finally, cloning is a great idea, but then just to create a nightmare scenario for cloning, it's a really good story, and so it plays on our fears, and that's what makes it such an intriguing new addition to the indie line.
Yeah, so it's coming out from Oni. Highly encourage you guys to check it out. All right, next up we have Exit City #1. This is written by Mark London. We have art by the late Carl Mostert. David Barron handles the colors. Letters by Dave Sharp. Exit City, this is the third book in the Underworld Universe that Mad Cave is putting out, leading to a big event next year. So we have Revolution 9. We have Hour of the Wolf. I think we talked about that last week or the week before. Now we have Exit City. So Exit City, basically back in the 80s, we were told there was a proto-tech class. They decided they wanted out of America. They tried Cal Exit, sort of like Brexit, right? British exit from the EU. Tried to secede from the California from the Union. Didn't work, so they basically started building these platforms a couple hundred miles off the coast of California and building cities on it, and then eventually these platforms connected together, and it became this city called Exit City, and that's why it's called Exit City, because they exited the U.S. But what's interesting is about the size of Manhattan. It didn't have the same rules, right? They were declared a special economic zone, and on paper, Exit City is part of the U.S., but every other thing, it does on its own. And the founders, they didn't want police, but you have a city that was built on money and power and ambition. You're going to need police. And so we're introduced to a couple of detectives here. Detective Miller, who sort of gives us the history of Exit City as she's being sort of introduced, I guess, to the Exit City police force. She's going to be paired up along with this other detective named Detective McCormick, and they're going to go out and solve crime. So we're told later in the issue that basically if you put them together, they make one good cop. Like Detective McCormick is very good analytically and strategy-wise, learning about things, but he's a little too by the book. He doesn't really have any way of like creative thinking to solve crimes, whereas Detective Miller has that creative way of thinking and thinking outside the box, and she's willing to bend the rules at times for the greater good, but she doesn't necessarily have that analytical mind. Whereas McCormick is such a stickler for the rules that even if it might help him solve a case, he's not willing to compromise. So, like, yeah, together they'll make one good cop. So that's why the chief of this particular police department puts them together. Um, so it's an interesting dynamic because they don't necessarily get along. McCormick looks down on Miller a lot of ways, saying, "Yeah, the difference between a cop and a criminal in Exit City is razor thin." And McCormick is worried that she's crossed the line, that she's not even really a cop anymore. So they're recruited to go or assigned this case to go try to find out why these two people were killed. They're in some sort of car accident. They don't know, how it happened. They work at the same tech company. Don't know, again, why they were killed, what they were doing. So what's interesting is as McCormick is investigating the crime scene, he keeps talking to these 3 vials in his pocket, kind of, eccentric, and it's commented on several times. People are like, why is he always talking to his coat? Well, come to find out, he was part of a special forces unit, and the rest of his team was killed, but they had these special microchips in their brains to help them process their thoughts, and those microchips were saved, and they were somehow put in some sort of solution. And that's what he's carrying around in his pocket. So he's still kind of talking to his old team, almost like he has little AI computers in his pocket that he's talking to, which is just really, really weird. So I really enjoyed this issue. I thought the art by Carl Mostert was fantastic. It's such a sad situation that he passed away. This is his basically his last work, and this issue is dedicated to him from Mad Cave. The color artist David Barron was a friend of, very close with Carl. I talked to both Mark London and David Barron at New York Comic Con. That interview went up earlier this week. I encourage you all to check it out. You can hear their thoughts on Exit City and what the story's about, and their thoughts on Carl and what have you. But I thought this was a great start. Once we meet the 2 detectives and kind of see the play, how they play off each other and learn about those vials, the recorded minds of his strike team, as we're told, that he carries around in his pocket. We see this cyborg creature literally rip this guy's head apart. Slice another couple guys up into pieces, and then say, who's responsible for this? What happened to me? And he's like a cyborg creature with all these cybernetic enhancements. What? This comes out of nowhere toward the end of the issue. So no idea what that's about, what's going to happen next. But it's an intriguing start. And what I find most interesting about this Underworld universe that Mad Cave is building here, this connected universe with these 3 titles, is these 3 titles feel so different from each other. Hour of the Wolf is very much a horror title. This feels, sci-fi, police procedural, which I really enjoy police procedurals, and I really enjoy sci-fi, so put them together and hell yeah, right? It reminds me a little bit of Replica, which was one of the first titles that Aftershock put out. If you guys remember that publisher Aftershock that was around for a minute, which was by Paul Jenkins, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite series of all time. Just so good. But Exit City reminds me of that in a lot of ways, so it's really fantastic. And then you've got Revolution 9, which is this conspiracy theory sort of spy, almost like a Mission Impossible type series. So they're so disparate, and I can't wait to see how they all come together. And you don't have to read all of them. Maybe one flavor is better for you than the other. It suits your taste more so than the other. But man, I can't wait to see how they come together in this crossover event next year because they feel so different. So. Anyway.
I think it's very inviting. The fact that there's only 3 titles: Revolution 9, House of, the House of the Wolf and Exit City, or Hour of the Wolf and Exit City. I think picking up all 3 is a good idea, and you can, with a little bit of headcanon, a little bit of imagination, I have my own theories as to how they're all going to link in together. So I quite enjoyed it, and this is I enjoyed this Exit City more than I enjoyed Hour of the Wolf. I love the character work between Detective Eve Miller and McCormick. They're both very cynical toward each other. Miller or McCormick thinks that Miller is sort of a corrupt cop, and whereas Eve Miller thinks that Detective McCormick is kind of off his kilter a little bit Looney Tune. And I love the blood, the guts, and the gore in the comic. I love that it's definitely a mature reader, and I thought it, it really hits all the high points, and I just love the setting too, the futuristic setting, the idea of this city created in the 80s, existing off the coast of California, and it's just it's pretty damn, again, it's entertaining, and again, another reason why thank God for the indie market, another great indie book.
Yeah, I mean I love that line that the difference between cop and criminal in Razor City is razor thin. That's what McCormick
Yeah.
tells that to Miller, and you're a walking example of that. I mean that's just fantastic. Like
Yeah.
immediately pulls you in. So all right, up next we have Something is Killing the Children, number 0. So this is a bit of a prequel. Let's see if I can find the credits page, probably all the way at the end. This is so I full confession, full disclosure. I've never read Something is Killing the Children. I own like the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 issues. I think I have a couple copies of number 1, couple different covers, but I've never read it. But obviously it's a hugely popular series. James Tynan's kind of first creator on that. It's not the first creator on that he did, but it's the first creator on that really got a lot of attention and sort of allowed him to step away from superhero comics. So anyway, this prequel to the main series is written by James Tynan, illustrated by Werther Dell'Edera, colored by Miguel Muerta, and letters by Underworld Design. So give us your thoughts on this, Rocky.
Well, first of all, I absolutely love this series. I was very, very fortunate back in the day. For all those speculators out there, I was in at the right when the first issue came out. I was right in this, and I got all the variant covers purely by fluke. I had no idea it was going to be as successful as it was. I knew James Tynion had come from BC. It was just one of his first independent titles, and just from issue 1, I was just glued to it. Something is Killing the Children follows the we meet our hero, Erica Slaughter. I mean, what a fantastic name for a character, Erica Slaughter. She wears this like mask around her mouth, and she's got a sword in each hand, and she basically kills monsters. And the first 16 issues of Something is Killing the Children, tell the story of her adventures in a place called Archer's Creek, which is a small Midwestern American town where she is literally, exactly as it sounds, children are being killed by monsters, literal monsters. And the character work is insane. The artistry by Della Huerta he's amazing. The emotional impact, the effect of the parents, the viscerally violent scenes of children being killed. Yes, children being killed. Their screams, their parents weeping for them, scenes of parents at a gymnasium surrounded by the bodies of their dead children, while Erica Slaughter is in the woods at various points taking down these monsters, but also considered to be a suspect herself. That was all in the main series. That all took place at Archer's Creek. Just think of 2 fantastic seasons of an HBO show. It's amazing. Well, this is a 0 issue. This is Something is Killing the Children 0 issue. This takes place before Erica Slaughter makes her way to Archer's Peak, which gives rise to that epic tale. And this does a really good job of sort of establishing why Erica Slaughter is so special. It sort of hints at it. And the story, it's really a conversation between a person by the name of Victor St. George and a young girl named Sarah, who's the victim of being attacked by a monster herself. And Sarah this Victor St. George character is questioning this young girl, Sarah, and he's asking her all kinds of questions about what did Erica say to her? What did Erica Slaughter say to her? And because the reality is that there's the House of Slaughter, and I won't go too much into it. Let's just say that Erica Slaughter is a member of the House of Slaughter and a particular series of houses whose job it is to sort of protect the world from monsters. And there's something about children that only children can see the monsters. Adults can't, for a whole slew of complicated reasons that I don't need to go into. Suffice to say, Erica has a gift of being able to communicate with children. And what James Tynion does so well in this series, and it's hinted at here, is that Erica understands something, and that sometimes children have an instinct that their parents lack. They see things, not only do they literally think things differently from their parents, but sometimes in literally metaphorical terms, but in literal terms in the comic, they see things their parents don't see, and they have an inherent understanding about certain things. And Erica has a way of communicating with Sarah, and she wants to be truthful with Sarah. One thing about Erica Slaughter is that she's very brutally honest with kids. She doesn't insult their intelligence. If we're dealing with monsters and we could get killed, I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to lie to you. And you're going to be strong because you're capable of being strong. She doesn't talk down to children. Her life is dedicated to protecting them. But she's also somewhat of a rebel within the House of Slaughter itself. And this is sort of this Victor St. George character is this character that's literally, he's vetting Erica Slaughter. And this issue ends with him deciding that this young Sarah is likely going to become another potential warrior against the monsters. And also he's decided that there's something special about Erica Slaughter and that she's sort of ready to be tested. And of course, that test we know will be what happens at Archer's Creek. So I thought this was just a really great issue. It's a reward for those of us that stuck with something or is killing the children. And it's very well done. And again, I got to tell you, James Tynion is just doing such an amazing job with so much of his creative work. Something is Killing the Children ranks among my favorite of his. It's my second favorite. Nice House on the Lake is my first choice, but this Something is Killing the Children is a very close second. And this Zero issue is a high recommend for me, and especially if you're a fan of Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah, I also excuse me. I also heard that it sold out at the distributor level. Like
not surprised.
I think they announced it on, I want to say Monday, that it sold out already. So before it even went on sale, it already sold out. I mean, it's a hugely popular series, so no surprise that it's doing really well. Like I said, I've never read it. I don't know why I never read it. One of those books I just never got around to. So. Anyway, Something is Killing Children Zero out this week. Hopefully, because it's sold out, you were able to get a copy of it if you're so inclined. All right, next book for me is Kill All Immortals #4. This is written by Zach Kaplan. The art, probably at the end once again. Actually, no. They had all these ahead of time. Well, I'll just start talking about it when I get to the page that has the credits. I'll give the credits, but yeah, Fico Asio handles the artwork. Zach Kaplan is writing it. So it's like it's been described as the show Succession from HBO, which was a highly successful show mixed with like Vikings, or Sopranos is another show that gets referenced when people are talking about this particular book. So it's really interesting. Basically, you have the family of Eric the Red, the very famous Viking Eric the Red, and he and his family were able to, his two sons and his daughter were able to achieve immortality. And the way they did that was by taking over or capturing this goddess, we're told, at the beginning of the issue. But what's interesting, and what we find out last issue, is that the goddess that they captured is actually an alien. So it was an alien entity. Her ship crashed. They were able to go to the ship and capture her and use her abilities to become immortal. And at various times over the years, they've had to change the name of their family when people have gotten too close. But they're very powerful. They're very rich. And the daughter Freya doesn't really want anything to do with the quote unquote family business. she's out working for like Greenpeace or UNICEF, that kind of thing. She's helping in areas that are war torn and places where there's famine and disease and that sort of thing. At the beginning of the issue or the beginning of the series, and she's attacked in issue 1, and she goes to talk to her family about this along with her boyfriend, who's a reporter, and her family is very disappointed in her that she brought this guy to their home because they don't trust him, and they think that the only reason this guy's interested in her is that he's trying to do a story about them, that he's discovered their secret. And she's like, no, he's doing a piece on me, about my charity work because I'm a member of this, very affluent family and what have you, but they're not buying it. But what happens in the first issue is she kind of goes against them. She wants her freedom. She wants to be able to do what she wants to do and not be dictated to, because the father, the patriarch of this family, he kind of rules the family with an iron fist, so to speak. So they don't really have any freedom or any ability to make decisions on their own or do anything that they want to do. And so throughout the course of the series, there's been basically them pursuing her and her trying to find a way through the suggestion of this journalist boyfriend she has, trying to find out how they became immortal, because they think that if they can find that out and they can find a way to threaten their immortality, that they can convince the family to leave them alone, basically. Like, hey, leave us alone. It's not that we'll expose you, it's that we'll take your immortality from you. So things came to a head last issue when they found out, the woman Freya and her journalist boyfriend found out where that spaceship was hidden, and went there to try to get the goddess to help them, basically. And before they could do that, the Eric the Red and his sons and what have you were there, and they captured him. So in this issue, they're trying to convince Freya to come back into the fold, stop fighting, and they basically say, prove your loyalty, prove that family's more important to you by putting a bullet in the back of your boyfriend's head, right? She doesn't do that. She, grabs her boyfriend, dives off the side of the ship, and they're like way north, like north of Iceland, where the waters like super cold. And they manage to get into a lifeboat, and they're driving away, and they get pursued. There's a couple big battles, and they're all like ridiculously brutal fighters. This is a bloody book with arms and heads and all that stuff being chopped off. If it happens to one of the Vikings, it grows back. It's like a starfish. But the more brutal the injury, the longer it takes for things to grow back. But Freya is, again, a very formidable fighter. And so she wants that freedom. She wants to be able to do what she wants to do. And so her and her boyfriend, they managed to escape. However, it come to find out her boyfriend was able to take a little bit of video of that spaceship and of this, her brother and her father, her brothers and her father's there, and he's going to expose them by sending this out into the world. And she doesn't want that. She doesn't, again, like, she wants her freedom, but not at any cost, not at the cost of her family. Whereas this guy's, she's like, is it true what they were saying? Like, you really weren't, wanting to tell a story about me? It really was that you were, always looking for the, the big scoop or what have you. And he doesn't completely disagree with that. He doesn't discount it. What he says is he's dedicated to the truth, and he's found out the truth about her family, and he's going to expose it. And so she had the chance earlier to shoot him and doesn't, and escapes with him. But then later, when he's about to hit send on his cell phone to send out this footage, she shoots him. You see it right there on that last page. It just came out of nowhere. Like, she has been risking her life. I mean, I guess not risking her life because she's immortal, but she's been fighting against her family all this time and going through all these great lengths to save her boyfriend and do the right thing and what have you. But then when it came to that moment, she didn't want to be exposed, and her family didn't want to be exposed. Like, she's such a complicated character.
Yeah. Do you think do you think he's really dead, or do you think he's, I know she shot him off the
Well,
boat, but I wonder if she just hit the
yeah,
cell
yeah. I
phone,
mean,
maybe.
it was so impactful. Like I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit! Like, and I mean, they do show it on that last page. You know, he's like, you know, I'm gonna hit send when I get a signal. You do what you have to do, Frey. She's like, please, please put the phone down. And then yeah, that next page is bang. And I mean, it's hard to tell, but it does look like that blood's coming from the middle of his forehead.
Yeah.
So, you know, but he's about to fall in the water, and who knows what sort of magical spells, you know, they might be able to take him aboard the spaceship and make him immortal. Like, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. And it goes back to what we say all the time, right? With why we love independent books. When you read Batman, you read Superman, maybe with the exception of Absolute Superman, which turns everything on its head, and fantastic, one of the best books I've read all year. But so many times these independent books, we don't know these characters, right? This is only issue 4. I have no idea where the story's going or what can happen next.
Yeah.
It's that surprise factor that makes these books so amazing.
Yeah. We have no preconceptions.
Yeah, exactly. No preconceptions, no guessing of where it might go.
Yeah.
It almost always ends on a cliffhanger. It's so fantastic. It's so good. This is a little bit different. Now Zach Kaplan, you know, he's been on the show a bunch of times. He's a friend. He typically leans into doing science fiction. This didn't feel like science fiction at all to begin with, but then you've come to find out that, you know, the goddess of immortality is actually an extraterrestrial. So maybe there's a little bit of the science fiction that way. But yeah, he's just a fantastic writer. He's great with dialogue and pacing, and I just don't have any idea where it's going to go. It's been critically acclaimed. I don't know if any of the issues have made any sort of top 10 lists or anything in terms of speculation, but this is the type of book that 100% could end up on a Netflix or a Hulu or something like that. And then yeah, there will be some value in the first issues. I got my copies. I buy everything Zach does physically because he's such a talented writer. But man, this series is just fantastic. It's so good. Love it. So
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for the books we're going to talk about in detail this week, everybody. I am going to give a quick rundown on some other titles that you might want to be on the lookout for this week. Saga issue 70 is out. I know it's another one like something that's killing the children. It's super popular, critically acclaimed. I've never read a single issue. I love Brian K. Vaughan, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Like initially when I remember hearing about it, it didn't sound particularly interesting to me. I never jumped on, and then it became so popular that it's almost like a trope, and so I haven't read it. But anyway, issue 70 is out this week if you want to check it out. Gunslinger Spawn's up to issue number 37, while King Spawn's up to number 39. Walking Dead Deluxe has its 100th issue, that big, oversized 100th issue. If you're not familiar with Walking Dead Deluxe, it's just a reprint of The Walking Dead, the same series that ran 172 issues, Robert Kirkman, Charlie Aldred, but Deluxe because it's now colored. Robert Kirkman's a genius. He's still making money off Walking Dead, even though he stopped writing the comic. All he had to do was pay, I think it's Dave McCaig did the color work. So all he had to do was pay Dave McCaig probably one huge lump sum. Hey, color these 100, I think I said 172, I think it's 142. Color these 142 issues, and I'm going to release them bi-weekly. It comes out twice a month. And people are buying them. Like, people are buying them. Like, hey, I never had a chance to own Walking Dead single issues. Maybe you read it on collected editions or what have you. Hey, here's your chance from issue 1 all the way through. Some people prefer colored comics. So anyway, Walking Dead Deluxe issue 100 out this week as well. Also, The Sacrificers from Rick Remender, which I've heard really good things about but haven't read, is up to issue 12. The Scorched, which is the Spawn team book, up to issue number 35. Public Domain is up to issue 10. Last time it came out, number 9, I think it was my book of the week for indie. Really fantastic. Chip Zdarsky handles the art and the colors. Issue 9 ended on a cliffhanger with the main character, Mr. Dallas, finding out that his wife had an affair with his editor from the book from years and years ago. This is that story of how that happened. His wife having, and his editor's female, so his wife having this lesbian affair. Really, really heartfelt. Such an emotional series. and also very meta about creator rights and that sort of thing. So absolutely love that series. Check it out if you're so inclined. We've speaking of Jason Aaron, we've got the 3rd issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Nightwasher. That's out this week as well. Actually, now that I think about it, is that a spinoff? Maybe it's not Jason Aaron. It's not. It's not. He's writing the regular Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So my apologies. Nightwatcher. That's apparently it's a miniseries. Junie Ba is the writer, and Pharaoh Panesh handles the art. So it's a 6-issue miniseries. So if you're a turtle head, probably want to be checking that out. Probably know more about it than I do. I Hate Fairyland up to number 17. That's Scotty Young's book. So that's out this week as well. And then finally, I'll mention FML, which stands, a lot of people are going to know this. It stands for Fuck My Life. That is the latest from Kelly Sue DeConnick about 4 teenagers in the Pacific Northwest dealing with strangeness and coming of age and that sort of stuff. So that's debuting. A lot of people talking about how good it is. You almost get a Stand By Me vibe from the solicits, and then if you look at the main cover, it really looks like it's. I'll put it up on the screen here. It really looks like it's channeling some Stand By Me if you look at that cover. So yeah. So if you're a Kelly Sue DeConnick fan, if you're so inclined, go ahead and check that out. So all right. So I guess it's a pretty easy choice for you, Rocky.
It's Something Is Killing the Children. Yeah, that was an easy pick. I mean, I'm a huge fan, and it's really well done. James Tynion in fine form. It's very, very, very well done.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty easy pick for me as well. I'll show instead of showing the cover, I'll show the last page there. That cliffhanger, kill all immortals. Holy crap! Freya shooting her boyfriend, the guy that she's been protecting this entire time. This is just such a fantastic series from Zach Kaplan. Highest possible recommendation. Check it out. It's so good. Again, the character work, the dialogue, the pacing, very fast-paced, very awesome. The art by Fico Osio is fantastic. So that's my pick as well. But I would be remiss if I didn't say that my favorite comic this week, as much as I loved Kill All Immortals, my favorite comic this week, without question, is Absolute Superman. The best of the Absolute books so far. Rocky and I did a deep dive, page-by-page breakdown, so you can check that out on the channel as well. Probably won't be as fun to check that out on the audio only, but if that's your choice, more power to you. But don't forget to head over to Rocky's channel where we do our DC Spotlight every week and talk about all the DC books. So Comic Space Boom! Is Rocky's channel. Once you're there, you know what to do. Ring the notification bell, subscribe, like and comment on the video. We love to get conversations going in the comments. Let us know what your book of the week was. For that matter, leave comments here. Let us know what your favorite indie book is. If there's an indie series that you're enjoying that we haven't checked out, yeah, we'd love to hear it. We'd love the recommendations. And as I said, there's tons of audio content on the Comic Source podcast feed. Just go to wherever you get your podcasts, whatever app or platform you prefer. Do a search for the Comic Source and subscribe. And you literally, I think we're approaching 3,000 episodes at this point of previous episodes with interviews and reviews and walkthroughs and all kinds of fantastic stuff that you can go and check out if that's your choice. So again, be sure and subscribe to the Comic Source channel where we have tons of interviews coming up this week. Got a chance to talk to Tom King and Ryan Sook about Black Canary Best of the Best that's coming up. Had a chance to, I've already read the first 2 issues of that. I think it's fantastic. So be sure and check out that interview. Plus, we have some more crowdfunding interviews coming up. We're going to be talking to some of the Ghost Machine creators about some of their titles coming up soon. So, yeah, tons of content coming up. So be sure you subscribe to the Comic Source YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of that fantastic goodness. And that's going to do it. Any last thoughts, Rocky?
No. I just it's a good week, and absolutely check out Superman.
Yeah, 100%. So, okay, guys, thanks for taking the time, and we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
Catch you later.